Hello folks, it's the EFE Chaser again. Welcome to another one of my videos. This is another one of the model reviews where we look at some of the older models available on the second-hand market. And this one we're going to look at the exclusive first edition's EFE Open-top Bristol VR. Now, some time ago I did a review of the closed-top Bristol VR, both the Mark II and the Mark III. So please check that one out on my channel if you'd like to. The bottom of the Open-top VR is the same as the closed-top. The split in the casting is just underneath where the advert is, so the bottom section is the same as the closed top one. However, for anybody who hasn't watched the video where I reviewed the closed top one, I will quickly review the bottom half as well. So we'll have a look around the bottom half, we'll have a look around the top half, and then I'll have a look at the deco of this particular model. So the one I've got is catalogue number 18603, released in July of 1997, and it's the East Yorkshire Motor Services one. Stood in their red and grey livery on the 109 Seafront service in Scarborough, and it represents vehicle 639, registration VDV139S. The real vehicle was new in 1977 to Western National. It was put into their Devon General subsidiary fleet. It worked for Devon General and it was bought by East Yorkshire in 1992. Became East Yorkshire 639 as modelled here. In July 1998 it was renumbered to 839 to make way for some other vehicles in the fleet. But by that stage it would have been in the maroon and cream livery anyway, the later livery, not the red and grey it's modelled here. And it was sold by East Yorkshire in 2006 for further service. East Yorkshire had 4 of these buses that they bought from Devon General. They were convertible open toppers. They weren't convertible in the way a car is. You didn't just pull a lever and the roof flew off. You needed a crane, but they came with a normal closed top section which could be lifted on and off, and you could take it off and put this open top thing on with the perspex screens, and there were some railings on the rail one. EFE haven't modelled those. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So yeah, you lifted the roof section off and then put this open top bit on. And the idea was, at the end of the summer season, you could take this back off, put the roof back on and use it as a normal bus during the winter. Now I remember 639 quite clearly, and for most of its career with East Yorkshire, when it was in this livery, the red and grey, it did actually run as a closed-top bus from Allaby Road Garage in Hull. It must have done a season early on the seafront at Scarborough, because this model must be based on something. EFE either did it based on the real model or did it based on a photograph, so it must have worked on Scarborough seafronts and been in this condition with its open top in place. It's got an advert from around 1993, I think it was, the Morrison Superstore. Very strange advert to put on a seafront service bus. You can't imagine many of the day trippers or holiday makers at Scarborough thinking, I know what I'll do after a day on the beach. I'll go to the outskirts of town and visit Morrison's. But at the time Scarborough didn't operate many double-deck buses. Most of the town services were operated by minibuses, so I'm guessing they had a contract to put so many adverts on, and they had you know, very few double-deckers to choose from to put them on. So I'm guessing that's probably why they put this advert on this bus. So anyway, as I say, we'll have a look at the bottom half, which is the same as the closed-top VR that I've already reviewed. Most VRs had air-operated windscreen wipers that were mounted at the bottom of the screen, a handful of electric ones that were mounted at the top, and the one EFE originally measured and photographed must have had the electric ones, because all of the EFE releases had the top mounted wipers. VDV139S was one of the majority of VRs that did have bottom mounted wipers, so that's not correct for this bus. It's also got the later style indicator units on the front, which are squarer. That they appeared from around 1979 onwards, so this bus would have had an earlier and more shapely version of them. So that's incorrect on this one, but otherwise than that, pretty decent. The grille is printed on. The surround is part of the casting, but the actual grille's printed, but it looks really good. And the appearance generally is pretty decent. I know I'm on about the wipers, but unless you knew that that bus didn't have top mounted wipers, you wouldn't know, if you know what I mean. Looking around the side again, it looks pretty decent. Another anomaly on the EFE one is the hopper windows are the later larger sort. Again, they appeared in around 1979, so this bus would have had the earlier shorter ones. But again, all of the EFE ones had these larger type, and the Mark IIs as well, which wouldn't have carried them. We discussed that in the previous review as well. But generally it looks like a Bristol VR. The detailing's pretty decent, the shape of it's right, and it looks like what it's supposed to be. There is yet another anomaly on the back. The bar here is just one thickness, as you can see. That was actually done on Bristol VR Mark IIIs that were produced in 1976, the very first series of them. After that, operators asked them to cut down the top a little bit, so it came along and sort of dropped down, went across at a lower level and then came back up again, and that was so you could get a standard advert into the panel there. EFE, for whatever reason, have chosen to model the earlier solid stripe bar, but again, if you didn't know, it's not particularly obvious looking at it. It does look like a Bristol VR, everything's where it should be, the windows the right shape and size, and it does look, you know, pretty decent. I am essentially just nitpicking. Again, the offside, pretty reasonable, looks like it should do. And we turn it over, there's the chassis, there's some of the detail in there, the fuel tanks and things are modelled onto it. So the top part is what makes the difference between the open top and the closed top model. The top part is different. Obviously the centre panels are just panels. The grille there is printed on, as is that one. Perspex windscreens front and back are nicely done, as you can see. What there aren't is any rails. The rail things had railings between the two sets of windscreens. I understand why EFE haven't done them. They'd have to be quite thick to be durable enough to be part of the casting, and then they look a bit silly and overscale. You can buy an aftermarket part. I don't know where I got these from actually, but I did get a set if I can pick them up. Like that, and they just slot in. Obviously you paint them whatever colour you want and then they slot in behind, and that's how they should look. So you can buy these if you just have a search on the internet. I can't remember who made them. It was just a set I picked up. I think I actually bought a model and they came in the box, which was a nice surprise, to be honest. Having a look at the interior, it's modelled in one colour, which is brown. It's pretty much accurate. The seats on the rail bus were brown. The upper deck floor would do to be picked out a little bit, and the seat back grab rails picked out in silver, just because you can see obviously the upper deck interior a lot more than you'd be able to on a closed top bus. So it would benefit from a little bit of painting carefully, just to bring out the detail and give a bit of relief. But generally it looks pretty decent, and it's not a bad model at all in terms of the casting. Now the decoration on this is a little bit wrong. The shade of grey is incorrect. It's too dark. It's like a battleship grey. The actual grey that East Yorkshire used at the time was kind of an off-white. It was a lot lighter than that, so that does detract from the appearance. It does tend to keep the value of these ones down. I've had a quick search on eBay this morning at the price of the 18603, the East Yorkshire Open-topper, and the cheapest one I could find was £12.11, including postage. The most expensive was £20 with postage on top, and the general consensus was somewhere around £12 or £13. So they are relatively cheap, and part of that is I think because they are the incorrect grey colour. Other than that, everything's pretty reasonable. The slightly oddly shaped lettering on the fleet name is well reproduced. The adverts are clearly done. That's exactly how they looked in real life. The opening soon relates to the actual Morrison Superstore, not the door. It does look a bit strange. I think that's actually how it did look, but it looks like it's part of the bus rather than the advert. But yeah, it's not a bad model all in all. The price of these is about the same as the price of any of the open toppers that you can buy. Some of them, you can get some more expensive ones, some of them more sought after than others. But generally, if you're looking somewhere around the sort of early to mid-teens in terms of pounds to buy one. But yeah, I grew up in East Yorkshire's operating area, so I wanted one of these to fill a gap in my collection. So I can live with the fact that it's the wrong colour grey. It was just to have it in my display case. So as always, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.